Now we have Nima. She's going to talk about really interesting topic I really like. Strategy to promote and encourage harmony and acceptance between youth from different sector, religion and ethnicity. Thank you.
Okay, so basically when looking at this topic, I've looked at so many different factors because I have a bit of knowledge on a few different things. But I sort of looked at what it means to be part of a fully functional multicultural society. So a multicultural society basically is a place where anyone is free to express their language, dress, food, religion, customs without persecution, while at the same time learning the dominant language and living by the rule of law of the chosen country, including the rights and freedoms given to all. So with a multicultural society, there's either integration or assimilation. Now, integration, I believe, involves a bit more harmony. Assimilation, however, it could be two types. It could be forced assimilation or it could be by choice. With integration, basically, you're bringing together people of different racial and ethnic groups into unrestricted and equal association, as in a society or organisation. So living in Australia, we're quite fortunate to be able to practice our religion, our customs, our tradition and safety. And we've been accepted by this country having come from various foreign lands, on the premise that we abide by the laws of this country. Now, Australian immigration never told my family, you can enter on the condition that you relinquish everything that makes you who you are. So this, I believe, is a strong foundation for multiculturalism. But then what happens when we arrive? We tend to stick to our own people. So Iraqis normally migrate and settle in the Fairfield area. Asians tend to settle in Cabramatta, Italians in Leichhardt, so on and so forth. Because basically they're looking for familiarity. They're looking for comfort and connectedness in a foreign land. But then once a person, a group of people get comfortable in their adopted country, they begin to disperse different areas, different cities, different states. And as a result, we connect with people from different backgrounds. So in Sydney especially, there are people from such a vast range of countries. We inevitably mix with other cultures. So whether it's at school, at the workplace, different places. And we tend to grow with the environment that surrounds us, which is, in my opinion, a beautiful thing. Our youth who either come here at an early age or are born in Australia are lucky enough to grasp and absorb this concept of multiculturalism. Now, when I was looking for examples of multiculturalism working without a hitch in particular countries and societies, I found it quite difficult. I probably would just say Australia is probably the best example and one that I know well. Other than that, what do we hear about? We hear that ideological, religious and ethnic differences cause civil unrest. The Middle East being the number one example. But here's another example, or perspective, let's say. I was in Israel not long ago and had the wildest experience. We all know about how devastating the situation is in that part of the world, but there is something magical about it. I stayed in the old city and absolutely loved it. It's so rich with history and a multitude of cultures, and it's broken up into quarters. You've got the Muslim quarter, the Jewish quarter, the Christian and the Armenian quarters. The old city isn't that big, so as you might expect, each culture predominantly tends to stick to their own quarter. But you will still find those who don't, and they mix, and they connect, and they're friends. Each quarter is, after all, just a corner away. On the other hand, if you sit long enough in one spot, you'll see Muslims coming back from the mosque, passing Jews coming back from the synagogue, passing Christians coming back from church. Now, within this old city, for the most part at least, it works, and it's quite a sight to see. Okay, so when we're looking at teaching harmony and acceptance, I prefer to use those words above tolerance, because tolerance seems to me like you have to put up with it. But when you say acceptance, you're actually bringing someone into your life and into your understanding. I've broken it up into three areas. You've got the home life and the family life. You've got education and you've got travel. Now, this is based on a lot of things that I've been aware of over my years and experiences, especially working as a teacher. I find that we need to target our kids at a very, very young age. There was a study conducted in America on African American, Caucasian and Hispanic children, and they used two dolls. One doll had black skin, one doll had white skin. And they actually asked the children, which doll is the bad doll? Which doll is the good doll? Which doll is the pretty doll? So when they asked which doll is the pretty doll, the children, and this is even African American children, they chose the white doll. And when they were asked why, is that doll the pretty doll? They said because it's white. Even when they asked, why does it look, when they chose the black doll, they said, why does it look bad? They said, because she's black. And this was asked over probably about 60 children, maybe more, and the majority of them all said the same thing. So these kids are about 5-6 years old. So ideas and perceptions are, in a way, already established at that age even. So what we want to do is we want to filter out these preconceived notions. But this will definitely take a lot of time. My suggestion is to allow our youth to make up their own minds. So, of course, a parent's role is to teach your kids right from wrong, because you don't want them to make the same mistakes you did. But when it comes to interactions with other cultures, especially when we talk about the different ethnicities within Iraq and their interactions with each other over the last century, let's not tarnish our youth's perceptions with our own experiences or the experiences of our parents. Because essentially this will enable them to have a fresh worldview that is unadulterated and uncorrupted. My background, as I said, is in education, and what I've noticed in the last decade or so is that it's changed quite a lot. In particular, I'm a history teacher, so with the history syllabus, we're tending to focus more towards the Australian experiences with different events around the world. For example, World War II, when I learned about it when I was in high school, which was a very, very long time ago, we learned about Hitler and his persecution of the Jews, and that was a big topic. Today, we teach our kids about the Australian experiences, the war in the Pacific, and Hitler's persecution of the Jews is only a small part of it, unless you go on to do modern history in year 11 and 12. So that's my belief. And I also believe that parents and teachers should be aware of the amount of knowledge and engagement students have within each topic. Okay. So my background is in archaeology, history and cultural heritage. And I know that one thing that is richer than oil in Iraq is our history. And I'm not talking about monetary value. The first forms of civilization came from that soil. What we have in our history is priceless, even though some black market criminals seem to think that they can put a dollar sign on it. They have no idea what wealth the history of Iraq can bring into the country, how tourism can boost the economy, create more jobs and a better quality of life. The education system over there, in terms of its historical studies, is probably not as developed as it should be. Because if it was, there wouldn't be any looting. The Baghdad Museum would not have been touched in the occupation in 2003. The knowledge of Iraq's cultural heritage, I believe, is not as ingrained in its people as it should be. When the Cairo Museum was looted, you had Egyptians chasing down the looters to retrieve the artifacts. But with the Baghdad Museum, 15,000 objects were stolen and thousands more were destroyed. The National Archives were burnt down. And now we see terrorists taking over Mosul, which was the heartland of the Assyrian Empire, where the capital cities of Nimrud, Ashur and Nineveh are. The reason I bring this up is because, as a teacher, I know that our history is not often taught in schools. I've been told that Greek and Roman society is closer to our society today, but I'm sorry, that's not good enough for me. Because if people really looked into our history, the first forms of even democracy came from Iraq. But if the Iraqis themselves don't know how important their history is to understanding our world today, why should Australia or America or any other country for that matter? So even though parts of our history are in the curriculum, not many schools teach it, but I believe that there should be a change with this. The next topic I need to talk about is travel. Now the reason I mentioned Israel is because I found that travel is the richest source of knowledge anyone can ever acquire. You can study for decades and it won't compare. The one reason I went into archaeology is because I love learning about other cultures. I've been to North America, Middle East, Europe, Asia, and I can tell you that every city, regardless of its proximity to another, has its own culture. So I know it's not easy with commitments at home, fears of your children leaving home, and living in Australia, an island that's a 20-hour plane ride to anywhere but Asia, making it very expensive. But I would really strongly recommend all parents encourage their children to travel. It opens up so many opportunities, both spiritually and emotionally, physically and psychologically. By being exposed to different cultures, religions, histories and traditions, your child or any youth member within your respective communities will develop a greater appreciation and respect for people of different backgrounds. I'd like to talk about basically promoting harmony and acceptance through Iraqi youth as well. I believe that talking to each other is so important. Communication is so important. Learning from each other, telling each other about our different cultures, about our different ethnicities, about our different religions. It opens up so many doors and just a broader understanding of everything. There are different organisations that actually promote this as well. There's an organisation known as the Dialogue Institute of the Southwest. There's the United Nations Office of Geneva. They all promote mutual understanding, respect and cooperation among people of diverse faiths and cultures by creating basically opportunities for direct communication. Okay? And finally, this forum. We gathered from all different sects, all religions, all ethnicities to produce this forum. Making these multi-ethnic, multi-religious groups, I think, is essential for fighting the oppressors back home, for helping our people that are suffering back home. When Iraqis migrated to Australia, we all developed second, and this is what Dr. Ahmed told me, second and sometimes even third identities, I believe we need to all unite under one umbrella. We are all from Iraq. The homeland we all love, despite its unrest, is Iraq. It's where our families are from, it's where our ancestors are from. And why can't all like-minded people who want to fight the oppression and the oppressors unite? In Iraq, there are Assyrians, which are also known as Chaldeans and Syriacs. There are Kurds, Armenians, Mandaeans, Turkmen, Shabaks. You name it, the list goes on. How come our families lived in the same villages, went to the same schools, connected with their environment in such difficult situations under dictatorships and the like, but we, living in this blessed country with such freedoms and opportunities, why should we not get along? There are no excuses for me. It's time for change and it's time for harmony and unity among us all. Finally, I just wanted to say that the world is so extraordinary because from the 6 or more billion people there are no two people who are exactly the same. Every individual is unique. But what makes the world even more incredible is one teeny tiny common denominator. At the core of every one of those 6 billion people, we're all human. And that's how we have to unite. We have to help each other. Final words come from one of my, I won't say idols because that's sacrilegious, but someone that I admire quite a lot. There are 2 people that I admire quite a lot. One's a Muslim and one's a Christian. Dr. Martin Luther King is one, Malcolm X is another. They fought for their people, they fought together, and they fought against each other sometimes, but they had the same premise. Dr. Martin Luther King said it best, summed it up best. Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Leila Naji and I'm a recent graduate of optometry. So my answer for this question, I was more focused on ideas to promote religious and ethnic harmony, particularly for Iraqis living in Australia. So I really agree with the previous speaker. My answer's in line with her. So I really think it's a matter of promoting and both seeing people as on a human basis and also the idea of a national identity. So I think a lot of us remember back to 2007 when it was the Asian Cup and Iraq won the whole competition. So I remember I was in high school and I went with my friends who, my background's Iraqi Arabic and some of my friends were Turkoman and also Chaldean, and we went to an Assyrian club to watch the football. So everyone just watched it all together. No one was kind of like, that goal was shot by a Shia Muslim, or like the goalkeeper that saved it was a Kurd. Everyone just united together and we all bonded and celebrated over a country that went through so much adversity and came out on top. So it's things like that through sport and like through that example of soccer. It's not just about being united together on the basis of sport, but through things like that you identify with people from different backgrounds to based on ethnicity or religion or whatnot, and see them as a fellow human, and you bond with them on things of recreation and stuff like that. And that's the first step. Recognizing someone as a human is the first step to being able to empathize with them and understand where they come from, and stop these differences and discriminating against one another. So another element that can really help with that is the current boom in film and the expression of Iraqis through art. So if we look back to a decade or two ago, it was really expressing yourself through film was not accessible to everyone. But nowadays a lot of people have film. You don't just need a high budget or something. You can just make it off your iPhone and Windows Movie Maker and stuff like that, and heaps of Iraqis have actually been doing that. And the benefit of that is that it's not just big films about big epics and battles and wars and things like that, but people are more using it as a means of self-expression and telling their personal stories. And by, if we screen things like these films or even take part in them, we'll be able to see each other from our personal stories and identify as people. So one example is following the 2003 war in Iraq, there's a branch of the production company MTV who followed Iraqis, young Iraqis in their mid to late 20s that were displaced and moved to Western countries, and it just kind of followed the issues that they were dealing with. And it was actually three men who came from different backgrounds. One of them was Muslim, one was Christian, one actually didn't have an Arabic Iraqi background, he had a different ethnicity. So all those people, they all had similar problems. They all were complaining about, their girlfriends. They all were worried about being accepted into their new country. They were all, figuring out how they see their identities. So we all bond as humans, and we all, go through the same things. So we should focus more on that rather than just looking at our differences. And by, being able to empathize with one another, we can understand where each other comes from rather than, just focusing on the differences. So.
Okay, now we have Ravi Zalman Kastal Together for Humanity Foundation.
What a privilege to be here tonight. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm delighted to be here. I want to take you to a moment. The saddest day in the Jewish calendar is the 9th of Av. It's a very sad day. We fast for 25 hours. And I was up in Brisbane on this fast day, very sad fast day. The temple in Jerusalem had been destroyed by the people of Babylon. Please don't take offense, but hey, there's a lot of history here, eh? So there we are, sort of thinking about our history with Babylon. And in Brisbane, we had children from the Jewish school in Brisbane, from a Muslim school in Brisbane, and a Christian school in Brisbane. The three schools came together for the day. And probably the most powerful thing that the children saw that day is this. Hydra, can you come forward, please? You don't have to do anything. What they saw was an activity with the two of us and a Christian person running it together. Hydra was talking to the children. I had something from the burnt from the synagogue in Brisbane, and you were showing it to the Jewish children. That's what you said. You remember that?
I do remember that. Yes, I do.
Yeah, so I think it was the first time I met you. No, I met you back in Sydney first. Yep.
We were working for at least 2 years before that together. So.
Ooh, thank you. Good memory there. So yeah, Hajar had been involved with Together for Humanity in Brisbane, and on that day, and of course you are from Babylon itself. So there we were, Hajar from Babylon, me as a Jewish person, children from a Muslim school, a Christian school, and a Jewish school, all getting to know each other, playing games, solving problems, talking to each other, learning how much we have in common, thinking about our differences, and it was a great celebration. And what happened that day when the children saw Hajar and me and the Christian person working together is we brought that message home. We're not just talking about harmony. We know each other well. Some of us have better memories than others. But we've got a rapport. Been working together. We've been doing the same kind of activities in Perth, in Melbourne, but mainly in Sydney. Most of our work is in Sydney. Often we'll bring schools together, children together, and actually they learn from each other, or maybe feed the homeless, as someone was talking earlier, together, going together to feed the homeless in the different schools. But also talking to children, sometimes it's not practical to bring the children together, so at least they can see someone like Hajar, someone like myself, or some of the imams that work with us, or some of the young people. There's another person in the room here tonight who I won't identify, who was a participant in this program as a student, and later also worked with us in the schools, going out to Avalon, to Orange, to Bathurst, to Cronulla, after the Cronulla riots, and just seeing us together, being able to correct each other and have a positive way of dealing with our history. So that's essentially that's the main work of Together for Humanity. In terms of extremism, Together for Humanity has also been working with some kids who might feel alienated and marginalized, and helping them think about questions of belonging, thinking about who are you? Do you see yourself as a Pacific Islander or Aboriginal kid or a Lebanese? Or how do you see your different identities, your different layers of identity? How can you actually participate and contribute, which is what tonight is all about. So that's a little bit about Together for Humanity. I guess for anyone who's interested, we're on Facebook, Together for Humanity. We're also on the web, togetherforhumanity.org.au. We've also got an online resource for schools called differencedifferently.edu.au, and we'd love you to be involved in some form or another. Together for Humanity is a Christian, Muslim, Jewish, inclusive organization working on helping people overcome difference.
Now we have Firas Naji from Ahl Bayt Islamic Center.
Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. It's a privilege to be here today. My topic is living in harmony from Islamic perspective. I want to give a message to the Muslim youth and to all these who claim to be Muslims, Daesh or ISIS. I asked them to go back to the Quran, to the teachings of Islam and the Prophet Muhammad. What the Quran says. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. ادعو إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن. Invite to the way of your Lord with wisdom and beautiful preaching, and argue with them in ways that are best and most gracious. And it also says in the Quran, لا إكراه في الدين. Let there be no compulsion in religion. So these guys who are called ISIS, they call themselves Islamic State. They just, whatever they do, they're just contradicting the teachings of Islam, of the Quran. To be honest, they're not Muslims. And even Tony Abbott, a couple of days ago, he just said something like, I will not call them Islamic State because of the name they claim to be, because they're not Muslims. This is what, to explain this, compulsion, that there be no compulsion in religion. What is compulsion? If you hold a gun at someone and say the Shahada, what is that worth? It's worthless. It doesn't mean anything. Because being a Muslim, you have to submit your heart to the will of Allah. And by doing this, they're not submitting their heart. Now, look at the leaders of ISIS, which Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. He was trained by the Mossad. And ISIS, they have been supported, funded, and armed by foreign countries, unfortunately. And one fact that when the Americans left Iraq, they have signed a treaty. Maybe we all know about it. They will give us the F-16 jet fighters, but they haven't given us that yet. If they arm the Iraqi army, they should be able to pick them out, but they don't. Now, throughout the history, Muslims have, for example, ruled Spain for more than 800 years, and they coexisted peacefully with the churches Christian churches and Jewish synagogues. They were able to practice terrorism freely with no force. If they have used any type of force, even economical force, over 800 years, there will never be a single Christian or Jew left in that country. Now, our Prophet Muhammad says in his tradition, he says, "Man adha dhimmiyan fa ana khasmuhu yawm al-qiyamah." Whoever annoys or hurts a dhimmi, I am his enemy in the hereafter. What's a dhimmi? A dhimmi is a Jew or a Christian who are living within an Islamic state. Whoever hurts him, the Prophet says, I will be his enemy. And there are many examples in the history of the Prophet Muhammad who have signed treaties, peace treaties with the Christians of Sinai, Najran, and so on. Now, we Muslims, we expect you please not to call them as Muslims because that's what they want to be called, and they're not relating to Islam whatsoever. Now, the current initiative, finally, I'm sorry, we're just over the time. Just give me 10 seconds. We at Ahlul Bayt Islamic Center at Auburn, we're promoting harmony, and we're having a called IFC, Interfaith Committee Group, from youth, and I'm taking care of this. We teach them, we study the Bible, and we study other religions and what they have to say, what's their belief, what's their theology. We have to educate ourselves more about each other, so in order for us to live better and together. Thank you very much for listening.
I'd like to introduce Mina Shakib to speak on the next topic. And the final topic. Thank you for your patience.
Hello everyone, my name is Mina Shakib. Thanks for your attention so far, and you guys made it nearly to the end. Okay, so today I'll be discussing this topic which is in front of you, which is going to be about ways through which youth can contribute to help and support victims of violence in Iraq. There are many ways which youth can contribute to help and support victims of violence in Iraq. Youth have the potential to become and be powerful advocates for change. And there are many ways to provide support for victims of violence in Iraq. By providing skills to make their voices heard, make wise decisions, and play a positive role as peacemakers, and become an inspiration to other youth in similar situations, and become champions of peace. This can be achieved by introducing new skills, supporting and improving their current talents, and by planning and implementing community service projects. This will facilitate the youth-led project commencement, which in turn will provide opportunities for young men and women to express their passions and talents in many ways. Examples of these may be soccer tournaments, art exhibitions, and other community events, while developing critical skills such as teamwork, leadership, problem solving, and effective communication. There are many organizations that provide such support, working together with communities, government organizations, and businesses to manage change in a peaceful approach, where the resolution of conflict takes place without resulting in violence. An example of such organization is Partners. When providing support and promoting positivity, it will steer the youth's negative views to a positive, more peaceful view without resulting in violence. Also, by providing the access and opportunities for education to women and youth to build a better future with a stable foundation. So why education, you might be asking yourselves? Education increases job opportunities. Studies have shown that for every year a girl stays in school, she'll increase her income by 10%, raising her lifetime income for them, their families, and their countries. Not forgetting that education is the fundamental human right. An example of such an organization is iCare. Establishing a community network to support, build, stimulate, and encourage youth participation in community activities will help such development in the long term. Examples of such organizations include the Assyrian Aid Society, where their mission is to utilize all of the possible legal means to generate and acquire funds in terms of cash and assets to be used for the benefit of Assyrians in Beit Nahrain. And another example includes the Assyrian Church of the East Relief Organization, or ASRO, which is a non-profit organization that donates 100% of their funds raised directly to help needy Assyrians in desperate time of need. When it comes to providing support, assisting the world's poorest and most needy communities, regardless of race, creed, and nationality, is crucial. It's crucial in providing aid in a peaceful approach. Introducing and developing long-term development projects on education, training, establishing clean water, and good healthcare services will reduce poverty-related sufferings, which in turn will gradually reduce the poverty-related violence. An example of such an organisation is Muslim Aid Australia, which is a signatory of the International Federation of the Red Cross and the Red Crescent Code of Conduct of the non-governmental organizations, or the NGO, in disaster relief, and it also supports the UN Millennium Development Goals. Together, when promoting safer, healthier, and more sustainable lives for people in sufferings, this will help to build resilient communities, strengthening the ability to prepare, face disasters, and to recover from sufferings, which later may lead to violence. Examples of such organizations include the Red Cross, as I mentioned before, the Red Crescent, and the Red Crystal. And remember that together we can make a difference. Each person here can make a difference. And thanks everyone for your attention.
We have one speaker from the Syrian Aid Society, and I can't see where they are right now. Oh, there we go. June Jaco, she's the president of the Syrian Aid Society Australian chapter. She'd like to talk to you about what the organisation does.
Assyrian Aid Society is a charitable and a non-government organisation, NGO. The society was established in Iraq after the 1991 crisis, which caused a great number of misfortunate people to leave their homes in the southern part of Iraq and Baghdad and to move up to the north. The society started providing aid to the displaced people in order to give them support and better life. Assyrian Aid Society work and responsibilities became greater with the continuous crisis in Iraq since 1991 till present day. Assyrian Aid Society Australia was established in 1999 in order to help and support the Assyrian Aid Society of Iraq, same as other AAS branches in the diaspora. Assyrian Aid Society Australia gets its funds by fundraising as fundraising events, direct debit by contributors, money boxes. Assyrian Aid Society Iraq is working hard on ground in order to reach and help all our needy people despite their ethnicity and religion. Assyrian Aid Society looks at education as an important pillar for the existing and continuation of a community. Therefore, Assyrian Aid Society of Iraq supports 33 schools from kindergarten to year 12, which teaches all its curriculum using the Assyrian language, or what's been known as Syriac. AAS also have dormitories which provide accommodation for university students who live in villages far away. Finally, thank you again for this opportunity and wish to congratulate the students on their great achievements and wish them a bright future, and urge them to try and apply their knowledge in helping humanity in general. Thank you all. If anyone wish to.
احنا طولنا احكي بالعربي، اسفين جدا، بس كان لابد من عنده هذا الوجه المشرق لجاليتنا، وهاي مسألة بالنسبة لنا هي مسألة وجود، يعني مهم الدرجات ماكو أهم من عندها، بس بنفس الوقت مهم أيضا الصورة اللي يشوفون بيها، يعني رؤية الأسترالي إنه مسألة مهمة، التعامل ويا شبابنا بفرص عملهم بمستقبلهم، فإيضاح هاي الصورة للمجتمع الأسترالي الواسع حتى لجاليتنا بأطرافها الواسعة ومكونات مختلفة أمر أساسي جدا. وتلاحظون اليوم احنا سعيدين اكو هناك ممثلين الاعلام الاسترالي، IBC من اكبر قنوات الاعلام الاسترالي، يعني ما سمعتوه اليوم راح يكون مسموع للمجتمع الاسترالي الواسع، رسالة واسعة من الجالية العراقية انه احنا جزء من المجتمع الاسترالي، مصلحتنا مصلحتهم في مواجهة اي عنف واي تطرف، وانه شبابنا شباب منجز، شباب واعد، شباب يضيف للمجتمع الاسترالي. To close, I would like to thank you all for attending this forum. I'm thanking this beautiful bunch of our youth we are proud of. Really, during the last couple of weeks I was working with them, I was very proud. This motivation and this dedication and this organization of their even simple thing there, we are proud of. We are proud of our panel. Tanya Muhammad, the head of the youth committee in the Iraqi forum. Manar Rashid, sorry. Ninwa Yaakov. Ninwa played a major role in putting a lot of things together in a time that you can't expect. Many thanks for your dedication. Sarah Yahya and Mina Shakir. Together with their colleagues, Hajar Al-Salami, Sami Maliki, Ahmed Al-Safar, Zina Al-Badran, Sarah Al-Nashi, Noura Rubey. We hope that this forum is not going to be a one-off event. We hope that our youth going to put all these recommendation and fine and beautiful thoughts in a plan and in a package where they as youth and other group of youth can work on. We look forward to have this forum working together to advocate and promote all these decent and beautiful and noble ideas you have together. There is a Facebook page for the forum that all you can go through and you can contribute. Thank you very much again. احنا طولناها فعلا ونعتذر ضيوفنا الشيخ العزيز واستاذنا اندرو روهان واساتذتنا واسفين جدا، بس اليوم هسه وقت الاحتفاليه، وهذا الوقت ندعو بزميلنا رئيس اللجنه الاكاديميه لان يقدم الطلاب والمتفوقين. شكرا جزيلا.